I'm a future criminal barrister and I'm going to explain the sentencing of Kyle Clifford. These are the facts of the case. On the 9th of July 2024, Kyle Clifford went to the house of his ex-girlfriend Louise Hunt. Once there, he entered the house and he murdered Louise's mum Carol by stabbing her to death. Following that, Kyle waited in the house for Louise to return, and once she did, he restrained her with duct tape. Louise was restrained for over 2.5 hours, and in that time, Kyle raped her before then killing her with a crossbow. Louise's sister Hannah came home just after the time that Louise was murdered, and Kyle Clifford proceeded to kill her with the crossbow as well. Hannah didn't pass away immediately and managed to alert emergency services to what was going on. However, unfortunately, she died once. Turning now to the sentence, bearing in mind that no sentence could possibly compensate for this horrific loss of life. For the murders, there is a mandatory life sentence in the UK. The judge's job is to set the minimum term, known as the tariff, that the defendant will serve in custody before being eligible for parole. Given the seriousness of the offence, the judge first turned to the guidance on whole life orders under Schedule 21 of the Sentencing Act 2020. A whole life order is what most people think of as life imprisonment. The defendant will spend the rest of their living days in prison. Whole life orders in England and Wales are extremely rare and reserved for the most serious offences. Schedule 21, paragraph 2 provides the following. The appropriate starting point is a whole life order where 2 or more murders are committed where any one of the following is present: a substantial degree of premeditation or planning, the abduction of the victim, or sexual or sadistic conduct. In this case, these are quite easily made out. The judge was satisfied with the high degree of premeditation. Clifford knew the routines, he got the weapons, he had a clear plan of what he was going to do. There was also an awful sexual element to the crime, as well as a domestic violence element, as the defendant and victim had been intimate partners. Finally, Louise and Hannah must have also become aware of the murders while they were still alive, which meant in their last moments they suffered grave and horrible mental suffering. This led the judge to take a starting point for Mr. Clifford of a whole life order. The judge then turned to any mitigation, things that make the offence less serious and may justify a whole life order not being imposed. Mr. Clifford has no previous convictions. There is relative youth/immaturity, being 26 years old at the time the offence was committed, although this doesn't serve as much mitigation in this. Mr. Clifford entered an early guilty plea, which entitles him to 20% or 1/5 of the total sentence if it is a determinate prison sentence with a set amount of time. Taking all of that into account, the judge reached a final sentence of 3 concurrent, meaning served at the same time, life sentences for Mr. Clifford with whole life orders attached. In essence, Mr. Clifford will never be released from prison.